Welcome to the Self-Growth Nerds podcast. I'm your host, Marie, a courage coach, creative soul, and adventure seeker. Since through hiking the Pacific Crest Trail in 2019, I'm on a mission to help you embrace your most confident self so you can achieve your dreams too. If you're eager for deep conversations, big questions, and meaningful connections, join me on the quest to discovering how we can create a more magical and memorable life. Hello, nerds! How are you doing? I'm super good. Today we are continuing what we started last week. So last week we talked about the feelings that get in our way. If you haven't listened to that episode, go and listen to that episode. It's very useful. And now we're going to talk about the feelings that propel you forward, that you want to practice creating in your life. So we have two parts to this episode. It's going to be really fun. The first part is I'm going to share 5 quote unquote negative feelings that are helpful. Okay? I don't like to say negative because there's nothing like that's positive or negative, but feelings that are more challenging to experience, but that we want to practice experiencing. And then we're going to go to 5 feeling swaps for a healthier mind. So what I mean by that is just like the ingredient swaps that you make in recipes when you don't have it in your cabinet or when you want to the meal to be healthier. I'm going to give you 5 feelings that are not great and what to swap them for. Okay? So it's going to be really fun. Let's go to the beginning. 5 feelings, 5 quote unquote negative feelings that you want to cultivate. Okay? That you want to avoid trying to fix. Just want to put them in your backpack and go. So I'm going to name them all, and then I'm going to go into detail for each of them. So there's discomfort, resistance, anxiety, disappointment, and fear. All of these feelings, often what we want to do is like, oh, I need to feel better before I take action. I need to get rid of the anxiety. I need to get rid of the fear, overcome the fear before I do something. Okay, but that's what I want to argue against. I want, instead of just trying to fix them and read self-help books and journal your eyes out. Can you say that? Journal your eyes out? Maybe not. Journal until your hand falls off. No, we want to, stop it. Just put the pen aside and just put them in your backpack and let's go. You can do amazing things while feeling afraid, while feeling anxious, while feeling uncomfortable. So let's start with discomfort. Discomfort is kind of a big umbrella for a bunch of feelings, but let's go with it. So if you're willing to feel uncomfortable, the truth is you're going to be able to do any freaking thing you want to do. If you practice moving through the feeling of discomfort, then you become limitless. And then there's resistance. Resistance is what I call the inner toddler in crisis. We all have one of these. It's I don't want to do this. I don't want to go outside. This sucks. I don't want to go to work. Oh my God, I'm shouting in the microphone. I apologize. But that's how annoying the inner toddler is sometimes. It's no. Mine always says, I don't want to go in the shower. Okay, and what we don't want to do with the inner toddler is scream at them shut up, let me be, go away. We don't want to do that. Because imagine if there was an actual toddler with you in a crisis on the floor. If you shout at them, what happens? Just gets worse. What we don't want to do either is trap them in their room, okay? Instead, we want to give them some love, make them feel seen. I see you. I know you. I understand you don't want to work right now. I understand that. It's true that work sucks sometimes, and we would rather sit on the sofa and read all day. But here's what we're going to do. Maybe make a compromise. Maybe explain to them why you choose to go to work. Have a compassionate relationship with your inner toddler, as if you were parenting yourself, okay? The trap that we sometimes fall into is we parent our inner toddler like we were parented. Can you say that? If you were always told to, suck it up and get going, you might have the habit of talking this way to your inner toddler, and it's not serving you. Okay, we want to shift that and make sure you have a healthy relationship with your inner toddler, that you don't, you let them be next to you. And if there's a day where they're pissed off and they don't want to do anything, maybe you listen to them. Maybe sometimes you go, you know what? You're right. Let's just watch movies all day, and that's okay. You're the adult. The inner toddler doesn't get to control your life. You're in charge. You're the adult, and you get to decide what they need. Maybe they just need a hug. Maybe they just need 5 extra minutes. Okay? You want to let them be in the room with you. And if you need to get work done and they're having a tantrum, maybe you just let them be there and do your best to focus on your work. Acknowledge that, they're having a difficult time and it's okay. And we're just going to get this task done, and then we're going to tend to them. Okay? Really try to ask yourself what you would do if there was an actual toddler in the room. Okay, so there was discomfort, there was resistance, now anxiety. Okay, sometimes I get up in the morning and I'm full of anxiety. It's like this vibration, this high vibration in my body, like a buzz inside of me. And instead of being angry at myself for feeling anxious, I decide to live with the anxiety. Maybe I'm going to go take a walk, go for a run, go for a kayaking ride to ease the anxiety without trying to kick it out. Okay? Sometimes you just have to accept it's there. Accept it's there. It's just, again, not leading, it's not driving the vehicle, it's just sitting next to you like a big fluffy monster. You're not trying to push it out. You don't have time to try and push out the monster outside the window. You have places to go. So you do your best to have fun with the anxiety riding in the seat next to you. Now, 4th one is disappointment. You are gonna feel disappointed if you want to achieve big things. If you have big dreams, you're gonna have to fail your way there. And if you don't want to feel disappointed, I'm sorry to break it to you, but you're always gonna turn back, go back into the cave, make sure you're comfortable, safe. You're gonna do small things to avoid feeling disappointed. But it's okay to feel disappointed. Want to aim high. And when it doesn't work, be sad. Be disappointed. That's not the same as indulgent emotions like we talked about last week. It's not the same. Please feel disappointed. And then once that's processed, get up and keep going. Failure is not an end in itself. It's only an end if you just stop. But you can learn from the mistakes and keep going. Okay? I remember trying something in my business and it didn't work out near as close to what I wanted. And I felt guilty about being disappointed. I was like, I shouldn't be disappointed because, it kind of worked. And I tried my best and I showed up. I shouldn't feel disappointed. I was trying to quote unquote be better. And then someone said, no matter what people tell you, because my friends were also telling me don't be sad. You gave it your all. But the minute someone said to me, you're allowed to be sad, you're allowed to be disappointed, you had your hopes up, then I felt disappointed. I cried in the shower, and the next day, it was all gone, and I felt clean. My mind and my soul felt clean, and I felt lighthearted and able to keep going. Okay, that's what happens when you allow yourself to feel. Now, the last one is fear. I feel afraid all the time. It's normal to feel afraid when you're doing something new, when you're stepping into the unknown, when you want to grow. You're leaving your comfort zone. Of course you're going to be afraid. Of course you're going to feel like you want to puke. Ugh. Puke every day. And that's okay. Just bring a puke bucket with you. Or surround yourself with people that are going to hold out the puke bucket for you. You can do things with fear. Just like the anxiety, just get them to sit in the car with you. You're driving the car, trying to find the road that's driving you towards your dreams. And there's anxiety sitting in there. There's fear sitting in there. There's resistance. They're all in the car with you. And you don't always like them. They get on your nerves sometimes. But you're like, guys, I need you. You need them. You need to be willing to feel these feelings. Otherwise, if you protect yourself from those feelings, and that's what Brené Brown says, if you protect yourself from difficult feelings, you also protect yourself from joy. You also protect yourself from magic, from pride, from everything that you get to experience when you give it your all and things work out or you surprise yourself. Okay, you cannot block out certain types of feelings. If you block out certain types of feelings, you block all kinds of feelings. If you're going to have the good, you also have to be willing to experience the bad. Keep in mind that almost always you're going to survive your feelings. I mean, there was a story on the news of, the shooting in the primary school in Texas that happened a few weeks ago. The teacher that died in that shooting, their husband died of a heart attack a few days later. So maybe you don't survive all feelings, but most of the time we do. Most of the time we can experience really difficult shit and we're still there. We're still there. For example, humiliation. That's my worst nightmare. Like, ask yourself. Yeah, actually, let's do that. Ask yourself, what's the worst feeling you can experience? For me, it's humiliation. Like, sometimes I have a nightmare of being in a crowd and then someone gets on stage and they point at me in the crowd and say, this is a fraud. She is a fraud. And the sensation in my body is I get a really hot face. My heart starts beating really fast. My hands get wet. I feel like I'm going to die. I want to just poof. I want to disappear. Okay? So ask yourself, what's the worst feeling you can experience? And what would the sensation be in your body? For me, it's hot face, heart going fast, wet hands, and just feel like I'm about to die. Now, if someone was to ask you, are you willing to experience this sensation? Are you willing to have a hot face, to have your heart going fast, and have wet hands? For 5 minutes every day, or for half an hour every day, if it's the price to pay to achieve your dreams? It's just a sensation in your body, and you know it's going to pass. At the end of the day, if you don't make it mean anything horrible about you, then it's just a sensation in your body. Okay, and you can survive it. It's just uncomfortable. And on the other side of that experience, it's like a tunnel. You go through that tunnel, and on the other side, there is so much freedom. There is so much freedom if you're willing to feel uncomfortable. That question, what would you do if you were willing to feel uncomfortable, is what got me to hike the Pacific Crest Trail. Because that to me was the ultimate discomfort, not just physical, like the physical pain, the physical discomfort of being wet, of aching, but also the potential discomfort of failing, coming home after 4 days, being embarrassed, like putting my career on pause just to come back after a week. That would have been, I would have made that mean something awful about me as a person. I know it doesn't mean anything. It happens and life goes on. But I was willing to risk that in order to go and live my life to the maximum. And if you promise yourself that whatever happens, you're going to have your own back and you're not going to be a bitch or an asshole to yourself, then that's what matters most. Whatever happens, I'm going to go there. I'm going to go to the Pacific Crest Trail. If I come back after 4 days, I'm not going to be a bitch to myself. And if I am a little bit, I'm going to survive it. Okay? Same thing with my business. I'm going all in on my business. Sometimes I invest a lot of money in things. And, you never have the certainty that it's going to work out. But if you don't do it, if you don't take risks, you never get the rewards. So I take chances. I do my research. Then I invest a lot of money in something. And I promise to myself that no matter what happens, no matter the result, I'm going to have my own back. Okay? So be willing to be uncomfortable and to have your own back no matter what happens. So these were the 5 quote unquote negative feelings to practice experiencing: discomfort, resistance, that's the inner toddler, anxiety, disappointment, fear. Remember the analogy of the road trip. You're driving the car. You're the witness of those emotions. They're part of the journey. They're going to be louder sometimes, but they never get to grab the wheel. You are in charge and you have to find ways to make the journey enjoyable even in their presence, okay? Not necessarily enjoyable, but you have to make sure the car keeps moving as best as it can without trying to kick them out. And sometimes that means, let's say like your anxiety monster is having a panic attack. You can slow down, stop the car, go outside with your anxiety monster, sit in the grass for a whole day, so that then you both get back in the car and the rest of the road trip goes well. Instead of going like, stop being like this, stop it. You're ruining everything for me. Okay? Be a friend to your inner monsters. Have tea with them. That's what my aunt told me once. Learn to have tea with your inner monsters. Okay, let's move on. 5 feeling swaps for a healthier mind. Number 1, instead of positivity, choose optimism. And these seem similar, but bear with me, they're very different. Positivity is thinking things like, this is going to work out. This is going to work out. I know there's something for me out there. Okay? It's very passive. It's like you're hoping for the best. We're hoping for the best. Instead, optimism, the way I see it, is knowing that you have all the resources to make it work. So instead of thinking this is going to work, you think I'm going to find ways to make it work. You believe in your own resourcefulness or your ability to go seek resources outside of yourself. Okay? Positivity is like bypassing the problem. There's no problem. Everything's going fine. Whereas optimism is you see the problem and you know you're going to be able to find a solution. Might take time, but you're going to find a way. There's a big, big, big difference Okay. When a friend is sad, for example, positivity is like, oh, don't be sad. Don't be sad. Like you got everything to be happy about. Whereas optimism is allowing them to be sad first and knowing that they're going to be okay. They're going to be okay and help show them their power. Okay, so that was number 1. Replace positivity for optimism. And if you want to read about optimism, the author Viktor Frankl, who wrote the book Man's Search for Meaning, coined the term tragic optimism. So he is a survivor of concentration camps, and he writes about optimism in the midst of suffering. It's fascinating how there is meaning even in the worst of times, that you can make something worthwhile out of the worst moments of your life. And that's very different from what people call quote unquote toxic positivity. But in order to understand why and to read about his approach, you get to read the book Man's Search for Meaning. I 100% recommend it. Okay, let's move on to number 2. Let's swap frustration for acceptance, okay? Frustration is like being annoyed at the way reality is. I wish things were different. I'm frustrated. And acceptance is, this is how things are. I made an episode a long time ago about frustration, so you can look for it if you want to, if you're someone who is frustrated a lot. The concept is that so often frustration is when we give our power away to something else. And often I think it's giving our power away to the way things are, to reality, to what we cannot control, basically. So let me give you an example. It's raining. It's been raining for 4 days in a row. I could be frustrated. I could give my power away to the weather. It's like, in other words, I'm giving my well-being away to something I cannot control. That's very dangerous. I'm going to feel better when it's sunny outside and I can do my regular things. You want to take your power back, take your well-being back, and just, accept this is how things are. I have no control over the weather. Now, how can I approach this in the best way? Frustration can also, let me think of another example. Maybe your brother is acting in a way that you disapprove of. Your brother smokes and it frustrates you. You wish he would stop smoking because you love him and you want him to stay healthy for as long as possible. You're really frustrated because every time you see him, you try to convince him to stop smoking, and you're butting your head against reality. Instead, we want to replace frustration for acceptance. And I know it's hard, and I have another book recommendation, Radical Acceptance by Tara Brach. You can also listen to her podcast. And there's so much freedom in just accepting, look, my brother smokes. That's just how it is. And what matters to me, above all, is that I have a good relationship with him, right? That there is love in our relationship. And right now, if I'm frustrated, there is control. There is frustration, and it's damaging the relationship, maybe more than the smoking is damaging his lungs. That was just a random example I came up with. But frustration leads nowhere, and we want to practice replacing it with acceptance. Okay? Number 3, let's replace judgment with curiosity. That's easier said than done, I know. Judgment of yourself, judgment of others. So that sounds like, oh, I should have done things this way. Like, they shouldn't have done that. and having opinions. Again, it's very similar to self-righteousness that I was talking about in the last episode. I think you have a manual for how people should act and what the government should do and what service providers should provide to their clients, all of that. We have a manual about everything. And whenever someone or something or an organization goes against our manual, we judge them. Okay? Instead, it's like judgment is the idea of good versus bad, right versus wrong. When we see ourselves go there, we want to swap judgment for curiosity. Even if we're sure that we're right and that they shouldn't do things this way, it doesn't matter if it's true or not. What matters is that we take care of ourselves. We use our energy in a healthy way, and curiosity is going to do just that. So instead of judgment, ask questions like, why do I think that? Why am I so certain of that? What else could be going on? One thing we do in my family is when we judge someone, we have to come up with 3 explanations why they might be acting this way. 2 of them have got to be serious and the other one funny. So if you see someone that's dressed weird on the street and you judge them, for example, one of my closest friends, I met her at summer camp a long time ago. We were 15 years old, and it's summer camp, right? We're in the mountains, it's dirty, and she showed up on the first day all dressed in white. Little white skirt, white top, and I was full of judgment. We often laugh at this. But if I had asked this question what might be going on? What are 3 reasons that she might be dressed in white? 2 serious, 1 funny. Let's see. Maybe that's the only clothes that her parents bought her. Maybe she's never been to a camp before and she didn't know that she was going to get dirty. And a funny one, maybe she's allergic to color. I don't know. Sometimes I'm funnier than others. But you get to have fun with that. Try it. If you have kids, maybe that could be a fun thing to experiment with. Or if you have a partner or an uncle that's pretty judgmental or that's complainy. Is that a word? Complainy? Just bring that practice in your family as well. I know in my family, we get a little bit bitchy sometimes. So that's why my aunt brought this. I think it's the same aunt I spoke about earlier. She's a therapist. She's a very wise person. So she brought that practice to us and we have fun with that. It opens up our perspective. Okay, number 4. We have 2 left. Number 4, replace shame for compassion. Shame is a really difficult emotion. It's, I am wrong. I am a mistake. It's not, I did something wrong. That's guilt. It's, I am wrong. Okay? Replace this, please. Please replace this for, I am human. I make mistakes sometimes. I'm imperfect, and it's okay. I am just human. Again, the Tara Brach is amazing in terms of acceptance and compassion. Just listen to her podcast before you go to sleep or something like this. That's what I did. It's she teaches you how to pour love into the cracks of you. Okay? And it liberates you because shame is so heavy on your back. So please remove shame and replace it for compassion. It's not going to make you a perfect person, but it's going to make your time on earth a lot easier. Okay? And the last one, let's replace motivation and inspiration for determination and commitment. Okay? Motivation is one of those things it looks good, sounds good, but you don't want to depend on it. Motivation is I feel like doing this. I have ideas. I feel like sitting down and writing my novel. But what happens on the days when you don't? If you rely only on inspiration and motivation as your fuel, you're going to be very inconsistent and have a hard time getting to the end of a project. Because just like excitement, I was talking about how excitement is a dangerous fuel to rely on in last week's episode, motivation is the same. It's just, you cannot rely on them. It's like a friend that shows up half of the time. You're not going to ask them to be the person who helps you move. If they're there, great, it's a bonus. Motivation and excitement are bonus friends. You don't want to rely on them. Otherwise, you're going to be disappointed. How come am I not motivated? You're going to blame yourself. And that's like arguing with reality. Like, why is my friend late again? When they've showed you many times over the years that they're just not a punctual person, and that's okay. You love them. And you don't expect them to be different. Because expecting them to be different is, frankly, a little bit silly. Okay? It's like expecting a brick wall to start talking to you. It's not going to happen. And if it does, well, great. Have you taken some mushrooms? Good for you. So you want to replace motivation and inspiration for determination and commitment, because you can create these feelings with your thoughts so much more easily. Okay? It's determination and commitment is thinking, I'm showing up no matter what. Every day at 10 a.m., I am going to spend an hour writing my novel. We're doing this. It's not optional. Okay? There is a big difference. The second one sounds a lot less romantic, a lot more boring, but that's how you get shit done. And not to say that you're going to whip yourself into doing it. We don't want that. It's not about hustle. It's about being able to say, I care about this goal, and I don't want to rely on motivation to be there for me to make progress. I want to rely on my commitment to this goal, and I am determined to make it work. There is so much meaning and so much beauty in there. And we are going to talk about that at the event I'm going to host in July. I talked about it a few episodes ago, about how to maintain momentum for long-term goals. Okay, how to maintain motivation for long-term goals. We're going to go deep into that. So if that's something that you struggle with, you want to add yourself to the wait list. That's going to happen in July. I don't have the date yet. I don't have all the details, but it's coming in my mind like pieces of a puzzle, and I'm trusting the puzzle to be complete soon. And when it's complete, I'm going to send you all the information. So just go to selfgrowthnerds.com/momentum and you'll be able to add your email to the waiting list. Okay. Again, that is for you if you are like who I used to be, which is you give your 110% and then you feel really low. You fall to 0% battery and you have these high highs and low lows that make it really hard for you to keep going and make it challenging for you to finish what you start. Okay? If you recognize yourself there, you'll be able to join us for this workshop where I'm going to teach you my method to sustain momentum for long-term goals. It's going to be amazing. Okay? So selfgrowthnerds.com/momentum. Just add your name, your email, and I'm going to send you more information when it's downloaded into my brain. Okay, so these were the 5 feeling swaps for a healthier mind. So let's recap. Swap positivity for optimism. Swap frustration for acceptance. Swap judgment for curiosity. Swap shame for compassion. And swap motivation for determination and commitment. You can create those feelings, okay? You're not at the mercy of your heart. Like your heart doesn't get to decide. You get to create your feelings with your thoughts. And that's like the biggest, most amazing, powerful secret. You get to create feelings with your thoughts. And that's what we practice in Brave and Bold. In my 6-month coaching program, every week we meet and we intentionally decide how we want to approach our life, our goals, our relationships. And we create the feelings that we choose that are going to lead us to take actions that create the life we want to lead. Okay? So that's what we do in Bright and Bold. All right, so that's it for this week. That's it for the 2 weeks about feelings. I hope you enjoyed it, and let me know. Just reach out to me in the DMs on Instagram, Self-Growth Nerds, and tell me what came up for you. Okay, have a great rest of your week, and I will talk to you next week. Bye-bye. You just listened to the Self-Growth Nerds podcast. Make sure to subscribe and to find me on Instagram at Self-Growth Nerds. If you want individual help developing the confidence to create a more meaningful and exciting life, visit selfgrowthnerds.com today to learn how. Finally, I want to thank my friend Etienne Galano for editing this, and I want to thank you, kind-hearted souls, for growing into your truest, most courageous selves every day and making this world a better, more beautiful place. My name is Marie, and I will talk to you next week.